Hey guys, this is Ronmower, and this is a last-minute video response to Magus's video about forgotten games. And I can only think of two games right off the bat. The first one I want to talk about is Star Tropics for the NES. This game came out from Nintendo in 1990, and it's a great Zelda-like type game, adventure game. And Happy Video Game Nerd reviewed this game a while back, and it's a forgotten gem, as Happy Video Game Nerd had said in his review. It's a forgotten gem. I mean, Star Tropics is just a fun adventure game, and I really feel that, I think a lot of people feel that it's a very underrated game. And I never played Part 2, but judging by the Happy Video Game Nerd's review, Part 2 is not as good as Part 1. But the first Star Tropics, and it's very innovative for its time. I mean, there's one part where you got to put in this code to operate the submarine, and when you bought the game back then, inside the video game box was a letter from, I forgot, Dr. Jones, I think is Mike's uncle. The character you play in the game is Mike, and his uncle's been kidnapped by aliens or something like that. And there's one part where you're supposed to enter a code to operate the submarine. Well, we go, well, what's the code? I don't know it. Today you can go on GameFAQs or on the internet and find out what the code is, but back then, you didn't really have access to the internet or anything. You had video game magazines, Nintendo Power, and all that stuff. But in the video game, in the box that it came with, was a letter from Dr. Jones. And in the game, I think somebody gave you a clue saying, didn't you get the letter that Dr. Jones gave you? And I forgot. I'm trying to remember the game. I played it recently and I beat it recently, and I don't even remember. But I think there's a clue in the game where you're supposed to dip the letter or run the letter and through water, or dip it in water or whatever, and then the number will show up, the code. I think it's 747, the code you put in to operate the submarine. So it's very innovative for its time. It reminds me of Metal Gear Solid, where to find Meryl's frequency, you gotta look on the back of the CD case of the actual video game CD jewel case, and you'll find Meryl's frequency right there. In the game, it tells you, look on the back of the CD case, and it reminds me of also an X-Men for Sega Genesis, where there's this one level where it says, reset the computer now, and I couldn't figure it out, so I wanted to start over, and I resetted my Genesis, and that's how I beat the level. You gotta reset the computer, talking about literally reset your Sega Genesis. So Star Tropics is also innovative for its time with that letter from Dr. Jones thing. And so it's a very underrated game. I strongly suggest that you check it out. And the next game I want to talk about is a very classic RPG, very underrated. That's this game right here, Shadowgate for the NES. Now, when I first played this game when I was a kid, I hated it because it was so freaking hard. But then over the years, it grew on me, and I started to love it. And I had to write letters to, back then I wasn't allowed to call the Nintendo Gameplay Counselor's hotline because, it would be on a phone bill. So I had to write a letter to Nintendo Power, and they would write me back and tell me how to beat this part of the game, that part of the game. So Shadowgate was a very freaking hard game. Now, it's really just memorization, Now, some of you know on my channel I've been playing Deja Vu lately, and so far it seems like a pretty cool game. Well, that's exactly what Shadowgate looks like. It looks just like that, but, it's a different game. It's an RPG made by the same company, and it's a very underrated RPG, and I think Happy Video Game Nerd likes that game too. Hopefully one day he'll review that game. And in the future I do plan on doing a video on Shadowgate. But Shadowgate is also a very, very underrated classic. I mean, look at that cover. And Retro Gamer 3 reviewed this game not long ago. And, I mean, that cover right there really makes you think, wow, this is an evil, scary game, This is a very underrated game. Please pick it up. Download it from a ROM site or whatever. Play it, or download it on the virtual Wii Virtual Console if it's on there. It's definitely worth it if you love RPGs. And I personally don't care about RPGs, but I love this game. This game is real good. Alright, so those are the games I want to talk about that I feel that are forgotten. And I respond to Magus, so I appreciate if some of you guys respond to me, and maybe you can tell me or respond to Magus if you want to. It doesn't matter. But if you want to respond to me directly, I appreciate that, and let me know what you think of my opinions on the games I mentioned, or what games you think is underrated and deserve more mention. Alright, so that's it. I'm Ronmower. God bless. Take care.